Listen to The Laverne Cox Show on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Portions of the following program were pre-recorded.
If you've hooked up Alexa or OK Google, just say, play 96.9 The Game
WYGM Orlando. WJRR HD2 Cocoa Beach, Orlando. This is FM 96.9 The Game.
Time to put the pedal to the floor. It's loud and live and local. Oh, time for open mic.
Happy Monday, everybody. We are live and local every weekday morning, 6 to 9:30 a.m. So many ways to listen to us. You know the drill. FM 96.9 The Game, AM 740, HD 101.1-2. You can also listen on your phone by downloading the free iHeartRadio app. You can listen on your smart speaker. If you don't listen live, you can find us on podcast. Just go to 969thegame.com/podcast. Look for Open Mic on Demand. That's our entire show. You can listen to. You can also watch us on Twitter, on Twitch. You can go to YouTube, search for Open Mic live stream, and see our beautiful faces right there on your laptop or your handheld device. Welcome to Open Mic on this fine Monday morning. I'm Mike Bianchi, the Bulldog, sports columnist of the Orlando Sentinel. I am joined, as always, by Adam Reardon, the deceptive intellect. He is back from top secret assignment. Austin Pistolka, he is the Sultan of Sound.
Yeah, Mike, I'm excited for today, but I had a sad realization this morning.
What?
The Florida is getting to me because I woke up and it was cold. I was cold this morning. I haven't been cold in Florida since coming back from Nebraska. So, oh man, the Florida has gotten inside of my soul at this point, Mike.
Yeah, I was leaving the press tent at the Arnie last night, and I'm like, I walked outside, and it was just the temperature dropped quickly. I was like shivering on my walk back to the car. All right, we want to hear from you throughout the course of the show. It's a Game Balls and Goop Balls Monday. It's an Overreaction Monday. You can give us a call, 407-916-8255. You can tweet us at 96.9 The Game, where we have all sorts of polls already up. You can go vote on those, again, at 96.9 The Game. You can text us on our Academy Sports and Outdoors text line. That's 50857. Guest this morning, Julia Poe of the Orlando Sentinel. She's our Orlando City insider. She will talk to us about Orlando City now officially up for sale. We will talk to Julia Poe about that at 8:15 a.m. this morning. We like to begin every show, however, with an Open Mic early morning inspirational quote of the day. This is in honor of today being International Women's Day, a global day celebrating the social, economic, cultural, and political achievements of women. And this comes from the great Beyonce Knowles, who once said, and I quote, "Power is not given to you. You have to take it," end quote. Anything deeper to that, deceptive intellect?
No, I would say that's pretty self-explanatory, that if you sit around and wait for things, more times than not, they're not just going to come to you. And I think that the example she used there was power. I mean, and sometimes she may even mean like an emotional power. I mean, you can't sit back and sort of wait to start to feel good about yourself. Sometimes you got to go out there and do it, whether it's, step back on the treadmill. Maybe it's go back to school. Maybe it's finally take that step to get into the career that maybe you've always dreamt of doing versus the job you have today. You got to go take it. Whatever you want, whatever sort of power, whatever empowers you, you got to take that. It's not going to be given to you.
There you have it. You want to talk about power? Bryson DeChambeau had some power at Bay Hill over the weekend. Big, brawny Bryson DeChambeau, who, by the way, Austin Pastolka picked to win the Arnold Palmer Invitational.
That's right, baby.
He did it yesterday. He bashed his way to a 1/71 to earn a one-shot victory over Lee Westwood. And again, this hulking, bulking, ultra-aggressive DeChambeau, he won the tournament just like Arnie would have won it. Arnie used to always say, you must play boldly to win. And nobody plays more boldly in today's game than DeChambeau. Nowhere was this more evident than the past 4 days, especially Saturday and Sunday on the par 5 6th hole, which is a sweeping dogleg over a big lake, and with the fans begging him to cut off the dogleg and hit it over the lake. He did just that on Saturday and Sunday. Yesterday, he blasted his drive over the lake, 379 yards, right? He had 80 yards to the green. Lee Westwood, who was playing with him, had 260 yards to the green after his tee shot. So that shows you what Bryson DeChambeau's power can do for his golf game. Here's what it sounded like.
That's where he's aiming.
And that's where he's headed, just a little bit right of it, but this ball appears to be hammered.
That's so far up there, and now, to be honest with you, it's in the right rough and with the hole cut front right.
And no one's having more fun, Gary, than DeChambeau.
Yeah.
Did you see what he did? Both hands in the air as if to say, you wanted it, you got it.
Yep.
Oh, my goodness. DeChambeau side doors it.
And that's where it's headed. And it makes it easily. And now he has a wonderful angle to play a second shot to this hole location. What a drive.
That's what he's prepared for. He's trained to do that, to exploit his power.
Bryson DeChambeau indeed has the King's title at Bay Hill.
It means the world to me, you know. I got a text from Tiger this morning, and you know, he obviously had done really well here and was very instrumental in Mr. Palmer's life, as Mr. Palmer was to Tiger. And, you know, we just talked about just keep fighting no matter what happens and, you know, play boldly like Mr. Palmer said. And, you know, my heart has been heavy with Tiger and what's been going on with him. And I just kept telling myself, you know, it's not how many times you get kicked down. It's about how many times you can get picked back up and you keep going. And that's what I certainly did out there today. And
that was Bryson DeChambeau. I got to tell you, he hits the golf ball right now further than anybody's ever hit a golf ball on the PGA Tour. His driving distance, again, he leads the tour in driving distance. He leads tour history in driving distance. There's no question in my mind that DeChambeau, you heard, I mean, there were socially distanced. Let me rephrase that, all right? There were crowds out there that were supposed to be socially distanced, all right? Everybody, all of the reported 5,000 fans who were allowed on the course Saturday, they were all around Bryson DeChambeau. This guy is the most must-see golfer since Tiger in his prime. And again, I'm not saying he's as great as any golfer since Tiger in his prime, but this guy draws the crowds. Why? Because he hits it a mile. He's a good-looking guy. He's dashing. He's big. He's strong. He's good-looking. And let's face it, part of the allure of Tiger when he emerged on the scene at the 1997 Masters was he was hitting the ball a mile. He won the Masters by 12 strokes in 1997 and transformed Augusta National into a pitch and putt course. It's why John Daly became a cult hero with his grip it and rip it style back. When was that? Hell, it's been 30 years ago since John Daly first won, came from nowhere to win the 1991 PGA Championship at Crooked Stick. I mean, guys that hit the ball further than anybody, especially if you have a good overall game, man, this guy, if he could start winning, he could be a real attraction for golf. Did you guys watch any of him on over the weekend?
I definitely watched some of it because how do you not? How do you not just want to see him hammer the ball across the course? I mean, it was incredible to watch. The thing that I love about Bryson DeChambeau as well is that he doesn't hide his emotions. You know, when we think about like Tiger Woods when he was doing it, he was very stoic. He was, very stonewall. Bryson DeChambeau, nah, he's putting his hands in the air. He's having a good time. Like, he's out there for business, but he's having a good time as well.
It's funny. What was our quote of the day? If you want power, you just got to take it. I was talking to somebody who said the same thing about Bryson DeChambeau. He's got a lot of power now. And what in fact exactly did it take? Did he just put on 40 pounds? Guy put on 40 freaking pounds.
A lot of whey protein, bro.
Yeah, and you're seeing the dividends. And always a long hitter anyway, but I mean what we're seeing now
not
is
like this, man.
Remember when we had to Tiger proof the course? I mean, with this young group of golfers whose physical fitness, we see DeChambeau today. It was Brooks Koepka 2 years ago that emerged looking like a CFL linebacker. Forget Tiger proofing. We're gonna have to reproof this sport because of Tiger. Because Tiger was the first guy to come along and look physically fit. These guys have taken what Tiger looked like and gone to the nth degree. When you look at some of their bodies, DeChambeau looks like one of those long drive champs. That's what he looks like. Those guys that can hit it 400 yards but couldn't chip or putt. But that's the difference. This guy can. And when you mentioned John Daly, this guy's something in between John Daly and Tiger Woods.
This guy's John Daly without the baggage or the beer bottles is what he is. I mean, John Daly, if he'd have worked at his game and worked on his... Bryson DeChambeau... It's pretty risky what he did. He was already one of the top golfers or top young golfers on the tour, and he decided, you know what? I'm going to push the envelope. I'm going to see how far I can hit it, how fast I can get my club head speed. He changed his entire swing, his entire body, and that's risky. We saw what happened years and years ago when David Duval tried to change his body, and his game just went into the tank. But Bryson DeChambeau, man, this guy is unbelievable right now. And again, must-see TV. We're going to get into more of what Bryson DeChambeau and, as Adam mentioned, all of these young golfers, what it means for the game of golf moving forward. Straight ahead, I hope you're not one of these curmudgeons who's saying, they don't play any defense in the All-Star game. We'll talk about the NBA All-Star game next on Open Mic.
Open Mic with Mike Bianchi.
Skill level that he has is certainly John Elway-like.
We'll be back right after this.
This report is sponsored by Discover.
Good evening. Looking at the roadways around Orlando, there's stop-and-go traffic on I-4 westbound from Osceola Parkway down to State Road 429. There's a crash in this area, blocking a few lanes. Use caution if you need to travel in this direction. Though the crash is starting to clear up in terms of blockage, traffic delays are still heavy. I-4 eastbound
Drives, feeds Giannis. Reverse dunk from half a foot away. He's 14 for 14.
Our Kobe Bryant MVP award tonight goes to Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Giannis Antetokounmpo wins the All-Star Game MVP last night. And yes, I know they don't play defense in the All-Star Game. Get over it. Get over it. I get so tired of that every year. Like, people complain, they don't play any defense in the All-Star. So what? So what? Not there to watch people play defense. By the way, Giannis, 16 of 16 from the field last night, including multiple jump shots, bank shots, if you will. What did he have to say about banking in a couple of jump shots last night, Austin?
It's Sunday, but the bank was open for you today. Quite a bit, actually.
It was, usually it's closed, but for me it was open. It was extended hours, and, I called ahead, so it was open.
Yeah, the bank extended hours last night for Giannis. He was on Team LeBron. Again, 16 of 16 from the floor, 35 points. Team LeBron cruised to a 170-150 victory over Team Durant. Giannis shattered the previous record of most makes without a miss in an All-Star game set by the great Hal Greer when he went 8 for 8 in 1968. Does anybody remember or know anything about Hal Greer?
Yeah, that's Will Greer's dad.
No.
I believe his real name is Hank. Actually, his nickname was Hal.
No, that's Pam Greer's father.
Oh, shoot.
Hal Greer, I believe, Austin, you're gonna have to check me on this. I believe Hal Greer played with Wilt way back in the day when Wilt was with the 76ers, all right? And Hal Greer used to take free throws, all right? And he would do jump shots from the free throw line. Instead of like just, standing there shooting the free throw, he would actually do jump shots from the free throw line. I think. Anyway.
It says that he developed an accurate one-handed jump shot and set Marshall's career record for field goal percentage at .545.
Does it say he took jump shots from the free throw line? Huh? Did he take jump shots from the free throw line?
Oddly enough, not on his Wikipedia page right off the bat.
Okay.
Somebody busted his chops one day and said, well, at least I'm not Rick Barry out here shooting like my grandma.
Right. The Orlando Magic's Nikola Vucevic, he competed in his second All-Star game last night. He was on the losing team. He was on Team Durant. Vooch scored 5 points on 2 of 6 shooting, had 7 rebounds. I think Vooch was the only guy in the game who was actually trying to get rebounds last night. So he had 7 rebounds. I asked Austin to find a highlight of Vooch from the game last night.
Yeah, you wanted me to find one of his 5 points out of the 300 points scored. What?
You did find Vooch finishing second in the skills challenge, did you not?
I did. He upset Chris Paul. Here it is.
He's a pro.
Who you got here? Who you got
he
here?
gets millions of dollars. You telling me he can't pass from one side of the
Who you got here, Kenny? I got Vucevic.
I'm going with CP.
Vucevic and CP3.
And CP3 lose, man. This is ridiculous. Thank you.
Let's go. Thank you. They both made the pass.
Okay, CP3. Dunk that, CP. He missed the layup one year. Oh, again, he missed it again. Oh, this dude, man. This dude here.
Who's going to get it off first?
Oh, that's Vucevic.
Bang, bang.
That's cash. Oh, that's off. That's off. That's cash. Game over.
Bang, bang.
Oh, they can't shoot it. It's going to see. Oh. Come on, CP.
Big guys are undefeated.
Yeah, Vooch. Vooch beat CP3 in the skills challenge. He finishes second. Who did he beat in the first round? He beat Robert Covington of the Portland Trailblazers in the first round. Then he knocked off CP3, and he lost, though, in the finals to fellow center Domantas Sabonis of the Indiana Pacers. So it was a decent performance by Vooch, all right? And obviously, he wasn't going to be a star in the actual All-Star game. We all know that that's reserved for the LeBrons and the James Hardens and the Giannis's and the true superstars of the league. But again, Vooch makes his second All-Star game in 3 years. So again, here's what he said after the game.
I think once you get here, it's when it kind of really sinks in. Before that, you're playing all the time. You have practices. Things are always happening, so you don't really have time to think about it or reflect on it. So once I got here and, you see everything that's going on, even though this year is a little, different, obviously, because of all the protocols, you still see all the other players, the NBA, all the, all-star signs and everything. And so you definitely, realize, how big, it is to be part of this, and it's a huge honor, like I said before. So, obviously, once the game starts and all the events start, I think you get even more aware of everything when you get to be on the court, all the other best players in the NBA.
That's what he actually said before the game. Yesterday afternoon, they had a little press availability for all the media. All right, real quick, spontaneous text question sound effect. Do we have that?
Do we have that?
Today.
What?
All right. Normally, obviously, we do game balls and goop balls on Monday. You can text those in to 50857. But it is International Women's Day, which is a big deal. All right. I want you to text in other than your mother or your significant other. Other than your mother or your significant other. The woman who has had the most impact on your life, other than your mother or significant other. So text those into 50857 or your ex-significant other, all right? Like my ex-wife obviously had a huge impact on my life. She birthed my two daughters. So, but other than that, like I don't know, a teacher, anybody. Other than your wife, significant other, or ex-significant other. I'm going with Miss Elin. She was my 7th grade language arts teacher. She's the one who actually got me interested in writing. I wrote a story about Pierre the Flea one time. And she raved about it in class and talked about what a talented writer I was. And that got me excited about writing. And, of course, I went on to become, a sports writer. Well-known sports columnist, minor celebrity in the media. So I'm gonna credit Miss Eland. Anybody out there have one?
Yeah,
I'm like racking my brain. You go ahead because I'm still trying to think.
I've got two off the top of my head. So there's Mrs. Fuhrer in 7th grade math class. She was the first person that actually pushed me to actually stay focused in school. And I was never
Which grade? From dropping out in 7th grade.
Well, I was never a bad student, but she took me from being just an okay student to being a very, very good student. And then also Mrs. Olson, who was the drama director when I was in high school. She did all the one acts and the musicals, and I was a big part of that. And so in doing that, she helped get me outside of my comfort zone and do things that I otherwise wouldn't have done.
Mrs. Olson also became a Folgers coffee spokesperson.
She bounced back and forth between teaching drama and English and her career as a voiceover person.
Where's Miss Olson at? She's got a Folgers commercial to do today. We got the substitute today.
Yes, mountain grown for better flavor. Yeah.
Hey, kids, you know what the best part of waking up is? Folgers in your cup.
All right, text in 50857, a woman other than your mother or significant other who had the biggest impact on your life on this International Women's Day. All right, straight ahead. I've got a debate I want to get started at right now. Would Tiger Woods, in his prime, dominate Bryson DeChambeau and this fearless group of young guns like he dominated the old guard 25 years ago? That's next on Open Mic. So Bryson DeChambeau wins the Arnold Palmer Invitational. Yesterday, we all know his story by now. I mean, he's the young gun, 26 or 27 years old, physics major at SMU, changed the entire look of his physique so he could knock the ball a mile, and he hits it hard. This guy, we were always taught, all of us hack golfers, hey, the easier you swing, the further it'll go. Well, guess what? These guys on tour now, they're not swinging easy, all right? Bryson DeChambeau and some of these young guns, they are swinging out of their shoes, all right? They are getting a lot of torque and a lot of club head speed. And somehow they are able to maintain, hit the ball a mile and be fairly accurate. So, again, Bryson DeChambeau among the many, many 20-something players that are emerging on the PGA Tour. All right, so I wrote a column. You can actually read it right now at OrlandoSentinel.com if you want. And the headline is this: would Tiger Woods have dominated Bryson DeChambeau and today's young guns like he did 25 years ago? Now, 25 years ago, Tiger Woods was the young gun. I mean, I went back to 1996, the year before Tiger Woods actually joined the PGA Tour, and I looked at who the top 10 money leaders were. And you had you had guys in their mid-30s, early 40s, guys like Scott Hoke and Brad Faxon and Tom Lehman and Mark O'Meara, Fred Couples, guys like that, all right? And not that these guys weren't good golfers, but they were, it used to be that, hey, you sort of had to marinate as a golfer, and you didn't hit your prime until you were 35, 36, 37 years old. Well, that's not the case anymore. These guys today are coming out and they are ready to roll when they hit the tour. I mean, these guys are seasoned. They've been brought up on golf courses. I mean, hell, back in the old days, you didn't have a golf course in every neighborhood. I mean, the guys like Arnie and Jack, those guys had to, you had to go to the local country club to play golf, all right? Today, a lot of kids grow up in housing developments that have golf courses. Hell, I've lived in 3 housing developments that have golf courses. Not that I ever became a great golfer, but again, it was golf much more accessible to the kids today. And here's the other thing, all right? Here's why I don't, and I'm not saying Tiger, if he came out today, wouldn't still be the best golfer on tour. I just don't think he would have been as dominant. Instead of having 15 majors right now and 882 tour victories, maybe he has 9 or 10 majors and 50 tour victories. And again, he's partly the reason for that, because when Tiger came on tour, nobody lifted weights. Nobody kept in shape. I mean, there were very few that did. Some, but very few. Tiger's the guy who made physical fitness. He's the guy who turned golfers into athletes. And now when you look at these guys like Bryson DeChambeau, they're all sculpted. They're all in shape. And again, I'm not saying Tiger Woods wouldn't be the best if he came out right now, but he wouldn't dominate like he did coming out. He just wouldn't. Anybody disagree with that?
I disagree. I disagree because, we focus a lot on the physical stuff, as you've mentioned. But what Tiger had that no other golfer, at least in my lifetime, with all due respect to golfers much, much older than me, what Tiger had was a mystique that Bryson DeChambeau, Dustin Johnson doesn't have. That when Tiger Woods, if you were on a leaderboard, right? And you were leading a golf tournament, and you were one stroke up of Tiger, and he's playing in the group behind you, and you're lined up over a putt, and Tiger just knocked one in from 15 feet out, and that whole golf course explodes. There's something, even though Tiger made that putt, you're leading the event by one. The amount of pressure that Tiger Woods on a leaderboard had on other golfers, and they would say, well, Tiger literally only lost one major event when leading by 54 holes, right? Mm-hmm. And that's something different. I think that, to me, what Tiger brought mentally to the game and his sort of Mike Tyson walking to the ring mystique, if you knew you were going to have to battle Tiger on Sunday, most golfers had already lost.
Okay, okay, I get what you're saying, but let me just say this. Part of, and a lot of Tiger's mystique, all right, is that Tiger was blowing the ball by everybody.
20 years ago.
Yeah, 20 years ago.
So what do you think Tiger in his prime would do with today's technology, like Bryson DeChambeau is using? You don't think Tiger Woods would have, gotten the biggest and best clubs from Nike?
No, I'm just saying that again, the only guy, John Daly hit it further than Tiger Woods, but John Daly didn't have the discipline. He didn't have the mindset to be great. All right. Tiger Woods had that discipline and mindset, and obviously the distance on the golf course. I'm just saying these guys today have the discipline. They have the mindset. Tiger wouldn't be blowing it by these young guys like he used to blow it by Scott Hoke back in the day.
Dude, Mike, Tiger Woods didn't miss a cut for like 6 years, I think.
I know.
I mean, we're talking about, and I have to look up Bryson DeChambeau and see when the last time he missed a cut was. But, I mean, we're talking about, Tiger Woods in his prime didn't miss a cut. Didn't even have a bad week.
I'm just saying there are so many more young golfers today who can win than there were back when Tiger first.
Yeah, because they're not playing against Tiger in his prime. Why do you think these guys are winning? You know why young guys didn't win when Tiger was in his prime? Because they were competing against prime Tiger. If these guys were competing against prime Tiger, they wouldn't be winning either.
Yes, they would.
No way.
Yes, they would.
Nope.
You ask anybody. I even talked to Lee Westwood about this. He was around 20 years ago. He said the golfers, the kids of the day, are more knowledgeable. They know more about their technique, their technology. They take care of themselves. They train. He said the tours of today, on all the tours, are so much better and so much deeper. And again, if you've got better golfers and deeper golfers, you're not going to win as much. I'm not saying Tiger wouldn't win 10 majors. I'm just saying he probably wouldn't have 15.
He had 15. He had 15 beating guys like Ernie Els and Vijay Singh, some great golfers that had multiple majors themselves. Phil Mickelson.
Okay. How do you explain this? Besides this last Masters that he won where he sort of lucked into it, all right, Tiger never had the luck in the majors. He's won one major in the last 12 years, and I realize he's had he's had physical issues, all right, but he's also had to face better competition over the last 12 years. That's one of the reasons he's only won one major in the last 12 years. The competition's better.
Well, competition is better, yes, but I know we kind of brushed over multiple back surgeries and knee surgery. I know that those are little tiny things in the world of athletics, especially one like golf where the torque on your back is, pretty substantial. I would say that yes, young golfers are better today, but they didn't have to compete against prime Tiger. And I think that's a totally different animal. I think that the further we get away from prime Tiger, the idea that he just lucked into a Masters victory.
Tiger Woods didn't have to compete against prime young golfers who were in shape and who've trained back then. Didn't.
No, that part's true too.
All right. We will continue the debate. We want to know what you think. You can go vote at 96.9 The Game on all of our Twitter polls, including this one. Straight ahead, we got some game balls and goof balls for you. I have a real big goof ball for the University of Tennessee for buying out a coach they should have never hired in the first place. I'll explain next on Open Mic.
What does Mike Bianco Alexa, Google Home, Xbox, and Sonos, an iHeart radio station. Some teams were hyped to the max, while others flopped.
We got flops all over the place.
It's time for Game Balls and Goofballs on Open Mic.
All right, we want your game balls and goofballs. You can call us 407-916-8255. You can text us 50857. You can tweet them in as well at 969 The Game. Obviously, Bryson DeChambeau deserves a game ball for winning the Arnold Palmer Invitational and entertaining the crowd out there. It was, again, but they said 5,000 fans were allowed into the Arnold Palmer Invitational. I'm telling you, there were more than that. There were more than that. And all the fans that were there, they were gathered around Bryson DeChambeau. He was by far the show over the weekend. By far the show. Obviously, there were some other, well-known golfers there. Rory McIlroy was on the leaderboard Sunday. Jordan Spieth was on the leaderboard Sunday. Lee Westwood, well-known. He battled Bryson DeChambeau to the end. Here's another reason why it's harder to win on the PGA Tour today, all right? All right, so Jordan Spieth. Remember a few years ago when Jordan Spieth was going to be, he was going to be the next great thing in golf, and he won 3 majors, I think, in a 2-year stretch. He'd won 3 majors. He was the ultimate closer. All right, but Jordan Spieth saw that, man, because Jordan Spieth was always considered sort of a short hitter, all right? And he saw these young guns coming on, just nailing the ball, and he says, I've got to get some length, or I'm going to be left behind. So he started tinkering with his swing to start to get some more length, okay? And that didn't work because he hasn't won in nearly 4 years now. All right, Rory McIlroy. Remember when he was going to be the next Tiger. Remember that? He won 4 majors during a 3-year stretch.
Didn't his dad win a huge amount of money because he bet on Rory to win the Masters and the Open?
Yeah, he was 21 years old when he won his first major. Then he won 3 more by the age of 24. And oh man, this guy's. Well, guess what? Rory McIlroy hasn't won a major in 7 years. He hasn't won a major in 7 years. Why? Because
7 years?
I believe so. I think it's been 7 years since he's won a major. Hell, he hasn't won a tournament period in 16 months. Why? Because the tour is deeper, younger, and it's harder to win. Anyway, all right, goofball. Goofball to the University of Tennessee. Here's why I'm giving them a goofball. All right. So Kevin Steele, he was hired as a defensive coordinator at Tennessee a couple of months ago when Jeremy Pruitt was still the head coach. Well, you know what Tennessee did over the weekend? They announced that, oh yes, we're gonna pay Kevin Steele the $900,000 salary, the contract that we signed him to, even though he never coached it down at Tennessee. So I'm reading this story. Why would Tennessee have hired Kevin Steele? All right, so they hired Kevin Steele. The University Chancellor, Donde Plowman, personally signed off on hiring Kevin Steele. 6 days later, she fired Jeremy Pruitt for cause following an investigation that uncovered what she said, I'm talking about the chancellor, called serious violations of NCAA rules. Here's my question for you guys, all right? So you're conducting an investigation of Jeremy Pruitt, all right? And you're finding out, hey, there may be some serious violations here. Why would you let him hire an assistant coach for essentially $1 million when he might not even be here? What annoys me about these schools is, first of all, they're state-funded institutions. They're spending money as if it's theirs, all right? Oh, here's $1 million, Kevin Steele, even if we don't retain you. That's ridiculous that they hired this guy 6 days before they fired the head coach. What is going on with these schools?
What? College football? Like, schools have shelled out money that, oh man, they're wasting money. Duh! This happens constantly.
Yeah, but why are you
surprised?
I wish I was closer to the story so I could remember the exact timeline on this whole thing, because
6 days.
No, but did they fire a defensive coordinator and then they bring this guy on right away? I mean, again, only because I'm not a Tennessee fan do I not know the exact sort of chronological order and how close this all happened, because I will say this, that the athletic director at the time, who probably signed off on it as well, was no longer there 6 days later either. So when they brought in a new athletic director and then they fired when they fired the coach, and the athletic director that 6 days later also decided to bow out gracefully for some reason, they brought in a new athletic director who had to bring in a new coaching staff. And so now the guy that was sort of hired in purgatory, is no longer part of the staff, but you have to pay him. I mean, you sign him to something happened in that 6 days that I believe means that
6 days.
Well, but what I think is they didn't think it was so bad, and so they went ahead as business as usual. And then within that 6 days after they signed him, allowed him to become a part of the staff for that amount of money, something must have dropped that they said, okay, we got a clean house.
I would hope so. Because if they hired him and they knew that they were in the middle of this internal investigation that they might have to fire the head football coach, and they sign a guy for $1 million and then pay him off anyway, to me, that is just blatant wasting of money. And speaking of that athletic director, Phil Fulmer, yeah, he bowed out gracefully. Sure he did.
Yeah.
Sure he did. That's why they're paying him off too.
Of course they are.
$37,500 a month for the next 2 years Phil Fulmer's getting. Don't tell me he bowed out gracefully. He got fired, all right? You don't pay a guy to bow out gracefully.
I was using, I don't know, you can't, if you're not watching and we're on a delay, I was using the bunny ear quotation marks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So, bowed out gracefully. Yeah.
By the way, I want to give a game ball. To Flavio Augusto da Silva. He is the owner of Orlando City, and he's selling the team. Why am I giving him a game ball? Because I think this is going to be good for Orlando City. I'm reading Julia Poe's story in the Orlando Sentinel. She will join us at 8:15 this morning. So he is negotiating with the owners of the Minnesota Vikings. Ziggy Wilf, the majority owner of the Vikings, Mark Wilf and Leonard Wilf, who are the brothers, who I think are also minority owners of the Vikings. All right, so they're negotiating with Flavio now to buy Orlando City. Flavio bought Orlando City. He paid the $70 million expansion fee in 2015. Then he built the new stadium out of his own pocket. That was $180 million. So that's about $250 million. He's, the major part of the money he put in, $250 million, all right? He's going to sell the team evidently for about $400 million. That's the potential price tag. So he's going to make a hefty profit. But here's the thing. Here's why I give him a game ball. Even though Flavio's rich, all right, he's not Ziggy Wilf rich, all right? And these guys are going to be able to put a lot more money into Orlando City. Orlando City will be able to spend a lot more on their product. I think this is great news for Orlando City that Flavio is selling the team. Adam, you're Mr. Soccer. What do you think?
Well, listen, whenever you have an ownership group that comes in with more money than the last group, and are they willing to spend it? I mean, at the end of the day, professional sports in this country are, in my opinion, geographically based athletic entertainment events. What I mean by that is there is no incentive to compete to win because you're not going to lose your team. You're not going to lose your status as a Premier League team. Over in England, you have to spend money to win. Otherwise, your team goes down to the first division, and in your television contract is less and less and less. But if you've got an owner that's going to come in who says, listen, I want to win, and I'm going to spend the money to do it, then that's great news for the fan base in your city, because we know that there are some places in some sports in this country that they know they're not going to field a winner because their ownership doesn't want to spend the money to do it. If you've got new ownership and they are committed to win, and by that I mean the checkbook is open, looking to get great players from around the world, develop players, invest in your youth infrastructure better than you do today, then I am all for it, and that'd be great news for Orlando City in the future.
Well, evidently, this ownership group has been wanting to get into MLS for quite some time now. They tried to buy the Minnesota United franchise when they were an expansion franchise. They did not get them. Now they're a minority ownership group in the Nashville franchise. Obviously, they would have to sell that if they buy Orlando City, but it sounds like they are eager to get involved in MLS, and that's a good thing for Orlando City. Let's pause for station identification.
WYGM Orlando, WJRR HD2 Cocoa Beach. Listen live on iHeartRadio. Now. No, seriously, do it now.
By the way, but as long as we're on college, we were talking about college athletics in Tennessee earlier. What about Arizona? So Arizona got charged with 5 Level 1 violations by the NCAA over the weekend. We all know what's been going on in Arizona under head coach Sean Miller. Here's why I'm giving Arizona a goofball. Not only because Sean Miller and his former coaching staff are blatant cheaters, all right? But Arizona tried to keep, even though it's a public institution, they tried to keep the NCAA charges from being released publicly. And ESPN and some other people had to sue them, so they would actually have to release these violations against them, or allegations, I guess I should say, against them. And you read some of the violations, good Lord. And again, forget the giving players money, all right? Well, we can debate whether that's right or wrong. There's it's like the 1980s again. They're setting up players and, fixing their college entrance exams, having other people take the exams for them, getting them fixed so they can be eligible to play in college. Why is Sean Miller still the coach at Arizona? Arizona is just, again, they're just trying to bury everything. They didn't even want this out in public, and yet they still keep Sean Miller on staff. What's going on?
If in college sports, we shouldn't even have to ask this question anymore. Winning trumps all. And Arizona's basketball program for the longest time has been one of the best programs in the country, or, certainly a perennial NCAA tournament team. It sort of reminds me of, and on a different level and for a different reason. Remember Baylor? When Baylor was winning football programs, how hard they tried to keep everything that they had going on at that school under wraps. You know why? Because winning was more important than, even at Baylor, the safety of women on their campus. That's how important winning college football games is. If you're a college football fan and you have a daughter who goes to a school, make no mistake about it. Winning football at that school is probably more important than the safety of your child.
Listen to this. The NCAA report said 2 of Miller's 3 assistant coaches committed intentional violations involving fraudulent academic transcripts, receipt of cash bribes, facilitating a meeting with an aspiring agent, impermissible inducements, and recruiting violations, all within an 18-month period. That pretty much runs the gamut. Accepting bribes, paying players, fixing their academic transcripts. Good God.
You know who really needs to be fired, honestly, in that entire situation? I think you mentioned 2 of the 3 coaches knowingly did this. Is the coach who unknowingly did it. You need to be fired because you didn't even know you were supposed to be cheating like this. You did it unwittingly. Come on, we're trying to cheat here, man. You got to know what's going on here. You're accidentally cheating. I need guys that are all in, fully committed to cheating on my staff. Okay.
Anybody else have any game balls or goofballs?
I've got one that we'll get into on the front page of the internet. But what about you, Adam?
I would say the only goofball I have for this weekend is Manchester City lost to Manchester United in the Manchester Derby. Manchester was red for a day, and that put an end to Manchester City's 20-game winning streak in soccer. Not an unbeaten streak in football, but a winning streak. They'd won 20 straight games in all competitions. It's impressive.
There you have it. All right, let's do a little front page of the internet then.
What you reading there, honey?
It's very exciting stuff, you see. It's the front page of the internet.
Here we go with the front page of the internet today, and we'll start off with what my goofball... I can't yet decide if this is a game ball or a goofball, and here's why. So AEW Revolution happened last night. It was a pay-per-view for All Elite Wrestling. The big main event was Jon Moxley versus Kenny Omega in a barbed wire exploding ring death match.
Old hat. Oh, my God. They're still doing this stuff.
Okay, here's the thing. It was an incredible match. And the barbed wire was great, the blood was great, but then the exploding ring part was not great. It was just fireworks on the side of the...
Oh, it didn't really explode? Nobody died?
Yeah, shocker, nobody died.
I want my money back.
No shrapnel wounds.
No shrapnel wounds, nothing. So, I want to give the match a game ball, but it was hokey at the end, and it was weird, and so it's a goofball, man.
All wrestling matches are hokey, okay?
No, you're incorrect. Sometimes they make you feel something on the inside, Mike. Anyway, let's head on over to YouTube's trending page. We're number one on YouTube's trending page is Mr. Beast, giving me reason to want to move to North Carolina. He sold houses for $1 for a YouTube video. He bought 3 or 4 houses and he sold them all for $1 single. And these aren't just ramshackle homes. These were like 3, 4, 5 bedroom houses on large plots of land that he sold for $1. That video has 16 million views.
Wow.
Happy birthday today to Kenny the Jet Smith. We heard a lot of him yesterday.
This guy here.
Highway robbery. Do I still have that?
Kenny the Jet is...
Highway robbery.
What is he? 51.
Oh, God, I wish I had a little bit more time to do the math. He was on that 82 North Carolina team that won a national championship, so you figure he was probably like 21 at that time. How many years removed are we from 1982? 30. And what did I say? He was 21. And what did you say?
No, 40.
51.
We're closer to 40 years.
Oh, so I'll go 61.
He's 56 years old.
Okay.
So, then trending. This is just good news across all sorts of people talking about it. So the stimulus bill has been passed. So if you have gotten a stimmy, you're getting more stimmy.
Yes.
That means GameStop going back on the rise, brother. And then also
I'm buying all my dips.
Yeah, now's the time.
Oh my God, I got a good one on Friday.
Goodness. And then
I'm not taking any more of your stock.
Turn my $55 into 33.
Hang on to it. Hold it.
Hold it. I got nothing else to do with it.
You haven't lost until you've sold.
Yeah, that's a fact.
Looks like it's going to be another bloodbath today.
But some more good news going on in the world of vaccines. The U.S. has, or the state of Florida, is sitting at 10% of the population fully vaccinated, and the U.S. as a whole is at 9% fully vaccinated and closing in on 20% with at least one shot, including my wife in that. My wife got one shot of the coronavirus vaccine.
Add me to the list this afternoon. I'm going on the list this afternoon. I'm in there.
There you go.
I'm in there.
How are you getting there?
Because Mike, as an educator, as an employee of listen, that's what happened, Mike. When you're for the children. I mean, they're going to look out for you.
I know you're doing it for the kids.
I'm essential.
Oddly enough, the private school that I get paid from, not on the list, doesn't count as Orange County Public Schools, sadly. So yeah,
you teach at one of those schools. They think that you should be able to afford your own vaccine. All right, you're like the Magic Johnson of COVID. guys have your own money.
Mike, you're old enough. You're in that group, right?
He's
No,
not
quite.
65.
Not quite.
He was telling Austin was telling me that there are people out there trying to stuff their faces big enough where their BMI gets above 30. Is that what you
Yeah,
said?
so on TikTok, there's a trend going around of people like showing themselves just stuffing their faces with food because they are trying to get into the category of obese, which would a BMI of 30 plus puts you in the high risk category, supposedly, so that way you could receive the COVID vaccine.
I called BS on that because if having over 30 BMI gets you the COVID vaccine, then this country would have 78% of people vaccinated already.
Yeah, right? Yeah. Yeah, I think obesity is probably unhealthier for you than COVID. All right. All right, straight ahead, it's the sound off coming your way on Open Mic. Sound Off brought to you by ABC Air and Heat. Finding an air conditioning company you can trust is as easy as ABC. ABC Air and Heat, abcairandheat.com. What do we have, Austin?
Sound off. Going to shake up the points. Going to put Hamlin to the top, Keselowski, and then Larson. As Kyle Larson wins Las Vegas.
Hell yeah, guys. Great job.
That was Kyle Larson winning winning the Pennzoil 400. They really shut off his radio real quick.
Yeah.
Man,
they didn't want him to say anything he shouldn't.
Yeah, clearly. So Kyle Larson gets his first win for Hendricks Motorsports after the controversy of him saying the N-word on a live broadcast. Mike, what are your thoughts? What are your feelings?
Well, again, now we know why Rick Hendrick gave Kyle Larson a second chance. Kyle Larson doesn't have any sponsor on his car. Rick Hendrick is essentially saying, hey, he's a great driver. I'm going to give him another chance. And he even said that after the race. Kyle Larson said, thanks, Mr. H, talking about Rick Hendrick, for believing in me. And I thought it was classy. One of the first guys to go congratulate him in victory lane was Bubba Wallace, who, of course, is the only black driver on the NASCAR circuit. So Kyle Larson didn't think he was going to get another chance to ever race again, and now he is, and now he's successful. And as I said then, and I'll say it now, depending on how talented you are, that depends on if you get that is one of the reasons you get second chances. And Kyle Larson, when the issue happened, he was one of the most talented drivers on the circuit, and obviously he's still very talented, and that's why he got a second chance.
Sound off.
That's where he's aiming.
And that's where he's headed, just a little bit right of it, but this ball appears to be hammered.
That's so far up there, and now, to be honest with you, it's in the right rough and with the hole cut front right.
And no one's having more fun, Gary, than DeChambeau.
Yeah.
Did you see what he did? Both hands in the air as if to say, you wanted it, you got it.
Yep.
So that was Bryson DeChambeau on Saturday on the 6th hole par 5, and man, he has been absolutely crushing drives. And now, Adam, we've talked a little bit about the ins and outs in golf and all that sort of stuff, but I have a question. I have a proposition for you. Okay? So there's the par 3.
For $1 million.
For $1 million. So there's the par 3 contest at the Masters, right? That everyone loves. There needs to be a long drive competition similar to like a home run derby in baseball at another one of these majors. So that way these guys can get even more of a light shined on them. What do you think?
At the Open Championship. They can do it at the Open where it's like, I mean, sometimes these guys can hit like 2 irons, like 310 yards, when the way that course will roll. I'm not against that. I mean, listen, they play that part.
Stop it. Golf is a gentleman's sport. This is not pro wrestling, Austin.
Sorry. Are you the one that wanted to change the name to the Arnie? Get out of here, Mike.
They play a pro-am for every single tournament. You can, and like he brought up, they play the par 3 competition at the Masters where part of it is, hey, let's see if you can skip it across the lake like a rock, I mean, this isn't as far-fetched as you would think. I'll entertain it. At the PGA, how about this, Mike? At the PGA Championship, where like it's kind of like it's a major, but nobody loves it.
Maybe at the Players.
Give it a little love. Give it a little boost.
Maybe at the Players, not at the Open Championship over in Scotland.
No, that's the Open. Yeah, so I mean, it never has its thing. The Players Championship can be, instead of like, that 4th major, it could be the one with the long drive competition.
Yeah.
And the Island Green.
Yeah, now we're talking.
Sound off.
The horn sounds, and the Liberty Flames, for the 3rd year in a row, win the A-Sun Championship. Next up, the NCAA Tournament and Indianapolis.
So that was the final call for Liberty, winning their way into the tournament. Conference tournaments are happening all across the country now. Your level of excitement for March Madness, where are you at with it, Mike?
I'm more excited about our beer bracket than I am about March Madness right now. Again, once the pairings are out, once the brackets are out, I'll get more excited. But, college basketball to me this year, and we've talked about this, if you ask me, no sport has lost more during the pandemic than college basketball. Obviously, the NCAA tournament last year and the conference tournaments last year were canceled, so we missed out on it last year. This year, it's like, with all the game cancellations and all of these major programs like Kentucky and Duke and some of the others, North Carolina being sort of mediocre to bad this year, it's just taken a lot of the luster away from the sport. Now, when the tournament starts, obviously, I'll get more pumped up. But no, I'm not fired up right now about college basketball.
Sound off. Obviously, we know, the athletic and high jumping Blake, but I think as of these, last couple of years, he's knocking down the three ball a little bit better. Ball handling is a lot better, and he can be a great contribution to this team. So if your sources are correct, then we'd be more than welcome and excited to have him on our Brooklyn Nets team.
So Blake Griffin headed to the Brooklyn Nets, according to rumors. Has this been, I don't know if this has been actually verified yet.
Woj reported it, so it's happening.
So it's basically happening. So Blake Griffin heading to the Brooklyn Nets. James Harden saying, we'd be more than happy to have Blake Griffin here. I don't know what kind of influence, what kind of impact Blake Griffin can have on the Brooklyn Nets. What do you think, Adam?
I'm trying to think. Offensively, very little.
Yeah.
He can't jump anymore. He's not a great shooter. I mean, that was James Harden talking,
James
right?
Harden.
Yeah.
Veteran presence.
Yeah, I think there's plenty of guys to shoot the three ball there in Brooklyn right now where you wouldn't need to be passing over to Blake. Blake, shoot this one for us. No, rebounds, I guess. I mean, a physical presence.
What they're looking for him for is a small, he's not going to be a starter. He's going to be like their small ball center when they want to go small. And then they want to put him in at center. So he's going to be a role player, but hell, let Blake Griffin, no, he doesn't jump out of the gym anymore, but he can still make a contribution, especially for what he's making. He's making like the veteran minimum, for crying out loud.
Yeah, I mean, if it's not going to cost you, I mean, he's averaging 12 points, 5 rebounds a game. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, he's no Vooch, that's for sure.
By the way, that was one of Stan's signings with the Pistons. Major snafu by Stan.
Man, you want to talk about a guy who fell off, though. I mean, remember at one point Blake Griffin was like this.
He was a
superstar, and now Blake
Lob
Griffin.
City.
Oh yeah, Lob City, man. Sound off. That's sound off for today.
That is the sound off. Straight ahead. What do we want to talk about when we come back? I want to talk about a college football story. Kansas having to clean up LSU's mess. We'll explain next on Open Mic.
More Open Mic.
You just heard that promo of, the news update where Rob Parker, you know my feelings about Rob Parker. Rob Parker was promoting the news update. And I think Rob Parker is one of these national sports radio guys who just comes up with outlandish takes. Adam just brought up a good point. Colin Cowherd does that too. And I'm scrolling through the 96.9 The Game Twitter account right now. Here's the Colin Cowherd take. The headline, Patrick Mahomes is just a second-tier quarterback. Okay, whatever you say, Colin. Just a second-tier quarterback.
Wow. Weak sauce take.
Wait, he said that?
Yeah.
Well,
That's the
I
headline.
didn't hear it, but that's what the headline says.
And that's taken directly from whatever they put out. You know, whatever Colin Cowherd puts out and his staff. That's a quote from him.
Yep, there you have it. There you have it.
You know what that is, right?
Yeah, I know what it is. It's a sports talk radio guy saying, look at me. I said something different than what everybody else believes.
Yeah. That's one of those ones where you click it and then it says, amongst, right-handed quarterbacks that actually can also throw with their left hand. Second tier. Second tier.
I saw a Rob Parker. Rob Parker had another one of those ridiculous takes. I was looking for it on the 96.9 The Game timeline, but I can't find it. Maybe I can find it later. All right, I wanted to get into this story real quick. We talked about it on Friday. Adam wasn't here, but Kansas has placed football coach Les Miles on administrative leave based on something that happened 8 years ago when he was at LSU. Now, at LSU in 2013, Les Miles, LSU conducted an internal investigation, even hired a law firm, and they found out that Les Miles was a party to inappropriate behavior toward female students, including allegations that he contacted some via Facebook and text, met them off campus alone, kissed at least one of them. The report did not find that he had sexual relations with any of these women, and Les Miles strongly denied kissing the one student and said, quote, he didn't do anything wrong and he was mentoring. He was only mentoring young women at the university. As I said on Friday, why is Les Miles, the 60-year-old college football coach, mentoring young women alone in his condo? All right. First of all, that's ridiculous to believe that he was just mentoring these girls at his condo. All right. That's totally inappropriate for him to have these college students over at his condo alone. All right. And I'm reading this story, and it appears as if LSU athletics director Joe Alleva recommended in 2013 that Les Miles be fired as the coach because of the above-mentioned accusations of inappropriate behavior. And LSU evidently, not only did they choose not to fire Les Miles, they chose to bury this whole thing. They chose to bury this whole thing. The only reason it's come out now is because USA Today started doing some digging. I guess they got wind of it. They started doing some digging, and I guess LSU has decided, okay, here's what happened. Here's the investigation. And now Kansas, which, again, I sort of find it funny that Kansas is, they've put Les Miles on, administrative leave when their basketball program at Kansas, one of the cheatingest basketball programs in the country, and they're trying to protect their basketball program at Kansas, but they're putting Les Miles on administrative leave for something that happened 8 years prior at LSU. And I'm not saying that Les Miles shouldn't be put on administrative leave or even fired by Kansas, but do you think if Les Miles, all right, here you go, Adam Reardon, if Les Miles was 18-3 in his first two seasons at Kansas instead of 3-18, would he be on administrative leave?
Yeah, for 3 days, and then they would find that there was nothing, at this point.
That happened at LSU,
That's right. Yeah, no, I think the thing you do, as the face of your university is go, hey, we're definitely going to do our due diligence. We're going to look into this. If you're looking to get out from underneath Les Miles' contract, you may have an out here. I mean, we talk about these contracts that these schools sign these college football coaches to, and we've seen other schools try to say, hey, we've got cause to fire you. We're not going to pay you. I'm sure a former national championship head coach costs money.
I wonder, though, does Kansas have cause to fire Les Miles for what happened at LSU?
I wonder if these allegations come out and he didn't disclose these allegations, or issues, and apparently they were big enough. Give credit to Joe Oliva, by the way, a guy who in this state probably has been crushed more than any opposing athletic director in college sports history, for having the guts to say, look, this guy's won national championships here, has us competing, always has a top 5 recruiting class, but what he's done has put the school in jeopardy, and I want him gone. Here's what I have to ask. If the athletic director is recommending for the college football coach to be fired, who's overruling him?
I guess the chancellor and the board of trustees. I don't know.
I don't know. The big boosters?
Yeah, the boosters.
Yeah, it really goes to show how different 2021 is from 2013, because when we hear about, we've heard a lot of these stories where like, oh, there were these allegations 10 years ago, 8 years ago, and how like they got covered up. There were people that were like trying to make the right decision in 2013, but there weren't enough people around those people to make those good decisions.
If this were to happen in 2021, Les Miles loses his job for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think.
In 2013, we were still in that culture like, hey, let's sweep this underneath the rug.
Right.
Actually, I say absolutely he would lose his job.
You'd like to think so.
You would like to think so, but again, you mentioned Baylor earlier. I mean, that wasn't that long ago that Art Briles was.
But that helped start it. I mean, the Jameis Winston at Florida State, all of that stuff sort of happened at the same exact time. Heck, 2013, that's when FSU won the national championship. All this stuff was happening at the same time.
I wonder if Jimbo Fisher would have been in today's world. If the Jameis Winston stuff came out, if Jimbo Fisher would have been allowed to just play Jameis Winston and FSU would have been allowed to just bury the allegations against Jameis Winston, and the Tallahassee Police Department essentially hid what happened with Jameis Winston, didn't investigate it, could that happen today?
Oh, it'd be tough to do.
Yeah, it's different today. I go all the way back to that 1995 Nebraska team. Remember when Lawrence Phillips played in that game? There's a lot of people that lost a lot of respect for Tom Osborne in that game.
That was a big controversy even back then.
Yeah, I mean,
imagine what it would be today.
Oh my God! There's no as much as Tom Osborne loved winning football games. I just can't even imagine. But, I mean, stranger things have happened, and I just spent last segment talking about how important college football winning is to these schools.
Yeah, true.
Unless Miles, who signed off on Les Miles, like, mentoring young college co-eds at his condo? Who signed off on?
I wonder
who would even think that would ever be okay?
I wonder if Kathy Miles ever signed off on that idea. His wife. I wonder if she knows that.
His wife or his ex-wife?
It said spouse in the thing. I didn't see where it said that they had divorced. Not married in 1993. Yeah. So he has a condo. I'm sure he has a home somewhere where Kathy lives. It must be the counseling condo, the mentoring condo.
Yeah.
Mentor. I'm using the bunny ears quotation. We're going to mentor this evening. I'm sure.
And now Kansas is trying to do the right thing, even though their basketball program is dirty as sin.
Yeah, but they're winning, Mike. I mean, there's a big difference here. You may want to get out from underneath this contract.
All right, straight ahead, we're going to get into the Tiger Woods debate. Could he dominate today's young guns like he did the old guard 25 years ago? That's next on Open Mic.
Bianchi's got to get a
off to the floor. It's loud and live and local. Oh, time for open mic.
Welcome back to Open Mic. I'm Mike Bianchi, the Bulldog, sports columnist of the Orlando Sentinel, joined as always by Adam Reardon, the deceptive intellect, Austin Pastolka, the Sultan of Sound. Together we are Open Mic, the troika of sports talk radio excellence in the megalopolis we know as Central Florida. It is International Women's Day today. In honor of that, we have an Open Mic inspirational quote of the day in honor.
We have a what?
An Open Mic inspirational quote of the day.
Oh, we don't normally go back to it. I was unprepared.
We don't, but it's International Women's Day. It's a special day. Obviously, International Women's Day is a global day that celebrates the social, economic, cultural, and political achievements of women. And this comes from the great Beyonce Knowles, who once said, and I quote, "Power is not given to you, you have to take it," end quote. So that is our Open Mic International Women's Day early morning inspirational quote of the day. Adam translated that earlier. What was your translation of that quote, Adam?
It's basically, it could either be really self-explanatory or you could look deeper within, and wherever you find your power, you can take it. It's not going to be given to you. If you want to lose weight, you got to take those steps to change your diet. You want to go back to school, further your education. You have always dreamt of a certain career. You got to go out and take it. It's not going to just fall into your lap. If that's what's going to be what empowers you, then you need to go take it. Go take that.
And Bryson DeChambeau, he certainly took it yesterday at the Arnold Palmer Invitational with a display of power. A huge display of power. Bryson DeChambeau, the brawny, beefy Bryson DeChambeau, he took down the field at the Arnold Palmer Invitational. He didn't dominate. He only beat Lee Westwood by one stroke. But, man, you want to talk about living up to what Arnie used to say. One of Arnie's most famous quotes was, "You have to play boldly to win." And nobody plays more boldly these days than the fearless, flamboyant Bryson DeChambeau. And this was, again, I was there on Saturday when he first attempted to hit the ball over a huge lake on the par 5 6th hole. It's a sweeping dog leg left, all right? But if you want to try it, you can choose to hit it over a large lake. Now, nobody ever does that. It's not been done before. John Daly tried it way back in the day and ended up shooting at 18, all right? So John Daly once tried it. Well, Bryson DeChambeau on Saturday, he not only hit it over the lake, 380 yards, he hit it well over the lake, and that's how he ended up blasting his way to a victory at the Arnold Palmer Invitational. Here's what his two drives on number 6 sounded like on Saturday and Sunday.
That's where he's aiming.
And that's where he's headed, just a little bit right of it, but this ball appears to be hammered.
That's so far up there, and now, to be honest with you, it's in the right rough and with the hole cut front right.
And no one's having more fun, Gary, than DeChambeau.
Yeah.
Did you see what he did? Both hands in the air as if to say, you wanted it, you got it.
Yep.
Oh, my goodness. DeChambeau, side Dorset.
And that's where it's headed. And it makes it easily. And now he has a wonderful angle to play a second shot to this hole location. What a drive.
That's what he's prepared for. He's trained to do that, to exploit his power.
Bryson DeChambeau indeed has the King's title at Bay Hill.
It means the world to me, I got a text from Tiger this morning, and he obviously had done really well here and was very instrumental in Mr. Palmer's life, as Mr. Palmer was to Tiger. And, we just talked about just keep fighting no matter what happens and, play boldly like Mr. Palmer said. And, my heart has been heavy with Tiger and what's been going on with him. And I just kept telling myself, it's not how many times you get kicked down. It's about how many times you can get picked back up and you keep going. And that's what I certainly did out there today. And
okay, that was Bryson DeChambeau. And again, I'm not going to compare him to Tiger Woods, all right? Tiger Woods won 15 majors. Bryson DeChambeau has 1 major. Tiger Woods won 8 Arnold Palmer Invitationals. Bryson DeChambeau has won 1. But I will say this, all right? As far as entertainment value and must-see TV, in my mind, and I'm trying to think, even more than Rory McIlroy or Jordan Spieth in their heydays, all right? And not that their heydays are over. They're still relatively young. But to me, Bryson DeChambeau he's the must-see TV, the most must-see TV golfer since Tiger Woods. All right, John Daly was before Tiger Woods. Then there was Tiger Woods. And I'm trying to think, has there been a must-see TV guy? I mean, again, Rory is a great golfer. He hits the ball a long way as well, but not like this monster does. And everybody knows, what's the old Nike commercial? Chicks dig the long ball. Everybody digs the long ball. That's why that's one of the allures of Tiger when he came on tour, is that he was just driving it by everybody except for John Daly. And I was there in '96 at the Masters when he turned the hallowed grounds of Augusta National into a pitch and putt course. So again, the long ball, that attracts people. You heard the galleries over the weekend following Bryson DeChambeau. And again, this guy is great for the game of golf. All of these young guys are great for the game of golf. But Bryson DeChambeau, with what he's done, how he's molded his body, how he's changed his body and put on 50 pounds. He's 6'1", 245, 250 pounds, and drives the ball 400 yards sometimes. This guy's unbelievable and unbelievably good for the game of golf.
You said must-see TV. I think that's reserved for guys like Tiger, because Bryson DeChambeau is not must-see TV. None of us are running home to the house on a Sunday of the Memorial or the John Deere Classic if it's Bryson DeChambeau at the top of the leaderboard.
Fair enough.
Like we
Fair
did
enough.
with Tiger. Because Tiger was winning at such a high clip. I went back and looked at some of the numbers. And Tiger Woods, you know how many cuts Tiger Woods missed in his career? 20. Well, I mean, 20.
Prior
to his accident and all the 5 before that. So 15 of his 20 came after the car accident, after the back surgeries, after the knee surgeries, after all the issues with his marriage. Bryson DeChambeau's already missed 36 cuts. But Tiger Woods played in 146 straight golf tournaments without missing a cut. That's why that guy was must-see TV. Is Bryson DeChambeau a little bit of a freak show right now? Absolutely. Is he? If you're at.
That's what John Daly was.
Like I said, he's something in between. I think he's more talented, more driven, more devoted than John Daly, but has that power. But he's not Tiger. He's not anything close to Tiger at this point. And we've seen guys come along that we say, hey, maybe this is a guy that could. And none of those guys have actually.
If this guy could win a couple more majors by overpowering golf courses, then maybe he would be must-see TV.
Then we'll start asking the same questions that were asked of Tiger. Can his body hold up doing that? Remember when Tiger, he swings too hard. His back's going to go out. And then eventually, guess who had to have back surgery? Can Bryson DeChambeau swing like this, keep his body like this as you get older? I mean, Mike, look, you got to do push-ups every single day to keep your body the same way as it was when you were 25 years old, right? You know?
Yeah, but I think this guy's driven. Again, he's smart. He's majored in physics at SMU. I was talking to one of the golf writers over the weekend when he was an amateur, all right? At the U.S. Amateur in 2015, before the tournament started, they had this big barbecue for all the players. Well, Bryson DeChambeau didn't go to the barbecue, okay? All the other players were at the barbecue. You know where Bryson DeChambeau was? He was back at his hotel, and he was floating his golf balls in Epsom salt just to make sure that they were perfectly rounded. And again, he explained how he did it. But this guy's like floating golf balls in Epsom salt just to make sure that they're precisely how they're supposed to be.
Man, sounds like he's not just a pack of beef right there. He's beef with a brain.
Oh, he's smart. I mean, there aren't many physics majors on the PGA Tour.
And I don't know if he still does it, but to me, the thing with Bryson DeChambeau that I remember most was that all of his clubs are the same length.
Yeah, they are.
Okay,
they are. All of his irons. All of his irons. So I mean, that's interesting to me right there, that there is some sort of, and this is a guy that obviously has dumped a lot of mental time and you know, like sort of analyzing, you know, swing and whatnot. There may be something to that. There may be something to having all of your irons at the same length, so you're sort of at the same position. Same swing.
Yeah, same exact swing. There may be something to that. I'd be interested to sort of, you know, look into that a little further. But the other thing
do you think John Daly ever was back at his hotel floating his golf balls in Epsom salt?
No,
maybe he was floating his Jack Daniels bottles in Epsom salt.
I think that John Daly at that point was pouring salt on his hand and licking it, you know, right before he takes his shot of tequila. The one other thing that Tiger has over the rest of this field that we're talking about, and the reason why he was must-see TV, is the commercial success. Because let's be honest, Bryson DeChambeau, we know him on the golf course, but we don't know, like, I couldn't tell you right now what ball he plays, what clubs he swings, what car he drives, what fast food he eats, what, you know, whatever it was cell provider. We knew all that with Tiger because he was super marketable. Let's see if Bryson DeChambeau can become a little bit more likable to the public, and maybe with his long ball that helps.
Yeah, he's got to win some more tournaments as well. Let's pause for station identification.
WYGM Orlando, WJRR HD2 Cocoa Beach. We are football. We are FM 96.9, The Game. You feel that?
I can feel it.
We're about to blast off.
Just hook it to my veins!
It's time for The Blast.
The Blast brought to you by Frank Gay Services. If you need an electrician or a plumber and you need them right now, go to frankgayservices.com. They will hook you up. That's frankgayservices.com. We'll start off with the thought-provoking daily poll, which we've answered in that previous segment. Is Bryson DeChambeau the most must-see golfer since Tiger Woods in his heyday? Yes or no?
Well, again, he's not Tiger Woods in his heyday. I think we've established that, all right? He has a long way to go before he's ever as must-see TV as Tiger Woods. But to answer your question, is he the most must-see TV since Tiger Woods? Wow. I'm going to say no. I mean, let's not forget, Phil Mickelson was pretty must-see TV as well. A lot of times you wanted to watch Phil to see what he would do to screw something up or what stupid golf shot he would attempt. But Phil Mickelson was must-see TV. Phil Mickelson was one of the most popular golfers on the tour. Phil Mickelson also hit the ball a long way back in the day. Bryson DeChambeau has a chance to be, because he's big, he's strong, he's dashing, he's daring, he's good looking, he's an American. That helps. And he hits the ball a mile. So he has a chance to be, but I'm going to go no.
The answer is no, because in the age of television, there's only been one must-see TV golfer. And I don't believe there'll be another one until that other one is here in front of us.
I would say there would be two. I would say Arnie was must-see TV back in the day.
Yeah,
in fact, he's the reason that golf is on TV.
Well, yeah, so I mean, I'm looking at like the ratings drop when Tiger, and I don't know, again, I wasn't alive back then, but you know, when Arnie was playing in a tournament versus not playing in a tournament, I don't know that the television ratings drop was as substantial as when Eldrick was playing and Eldrick wasn't playing.
I don't know. I don't know that.
With 60% of
that's Mark Daniels.
There you go. With 60% of the vote, no, he is not. Supplemental poll number 1. Do you agree with Mike Bianchi's column, which you can read in today's Orlando Sentinel? You can read it at orlandosentinel.com.
Cheap plug.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Do you agree with him saying that Tiger Woods in his prime wouldn't have dominated today's crop of young guns like he dominated 20 years ago? Yes or no? Mike, explain yourself.
Well, again, and I'm not saying Tiger Woods wouldn't be the most dominant golfer on the circuit if he were coming out right now. I'm just saying he wouldn't be as dominant, all right? I put something in my column. Maybe instead of having 15 majors, he'd have 10 majors or 9 majors. Maybe instead of having 82 PGA Tour victories, which is tied with Sam Snead, maybe he'd have 50 or 60. Again, that's good. That still makes him one of the greatest of all time. But I don't think he would be able to. I mean, he didn't have to worry about big, brawny Bryson DeChambeau hitting the ball 380 yards over a lake, all right, on a dog leg left. He didn't have to worry about these 21, 22-year-old guys coming on tour hitting the ball a mile. They're technologically sound. Lee Westwood said, these kids today, they come on tour, they know so much more, they're in so much better shape, and a lot of that, in fact, all of it, is probably because of Tiger. I just don't know if Tiger could dominate these young guns that he created like he dominated the Tom Lehmans and the Davis Love the Thirds back when he came on tour. Those were 35, 40-year-old golfers who Tiger was just blowing the ball by them. He couldn't blow the ball by the guys today.
Tiger also dominated guys like Justin Rose, who is a top 5 to 10 golfer today, still today. Dominated guys like Rory McIlroy, who was a young gun back then, who's a top 5 to 10 golfer today. Tiger dominated.
Wait a minute now. I don't know that Tiger really dominated. I mean, Rory McIlroy won. I mean, he won 4 majors after Tiger's run.
After Tiger's run. But in Tiger's prime, what you said was in Tiger's prime, could he dominate?
Yeah, but Tiger didn't dominate Rory McIlroy, and Rory McIlroy hadn't even come on the scene.
He was a young gun. No, remember Tiger and Rory were in commercials together?
Yeah, but maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
60% of the vote says no, they do not agree with Mike Bianchi.
Okay.
We got to buzz through these a little quicker now. Supplemental poll number 2. Are you a grump and a curmudgeon if you complain about the lack of defense in last night's NBA All-Star game? Yes or no?
Yes. I've already heard it some this morning from Pat Lynch and Taco Bob over at JRR complaining about no defense. Nobody turns on the All-Star game to watch guys play belly-to-belly, man-to-man defense. Give me a break. Get over it.
I think you're a curmudgeon if you complained that LeBron didn't want to play. So if you complained that LeBron was at the game and played all of his buddies and they played no defense, then I think you're an ultra curmudgeon.
Well, our audience shining through right now. 57% says, no, I'm not a grump or a curmudgeon.
Yeah, sure
they
you're not.
should play some defense around here.
Defense. John Havlicek could never.
Bob Cousy would have played defense.
I remember back in my day. Anyway, supplemental poll number 3.
Bill Russell.
Are you happy or sad that Orlando City SC owner Flavio Augusto da Silva is selling the club? Happy or sad, Mike?
We're going to ask Julia Poe at 8:15 that question, but I'm happy. I mean, he's evidently negotiating right now with the owners of the Minnesota Vikings, who are low. They are multi-billionaires, and I'm not saying Flavio's not a rich guy, but he's not as rich as the owners of the Minnesota Vikings. I just think new ownership will be able to create more money. They'll have a bigger revenue stream. Flavio's rich, but he's not as rich as these guys.
Yeah, I'm all for it. Now, if this new ownership group has more money and they're willing to spend it, get better players, invest in the infrastructure with the feeder programs and all that kind of good stuff, then yes, more money, less problems.
With 68% of the vote happy. They are happy Flavio is out of Orlando City SC.
Well, he's not yet. He's negotiating.
He's negotiating his way out. He's effectively out. Supplemental poll number 4. What are you most intrigued about watching on TV tonight? Is it the Bachelor Fantasy Suites episode when... Fantasy. Oh, man. Let me tell you, people get real excited for the Fantasy Suite episode.
What is that?
So when there are 3 women left in the show, then this is when they get their first and only overnight date, where they go to the fantasy suite and
Yeah, put some respect on those girls' names. That ain't necessarily what's going to happen.
It's not necessarily what's going to happen. And just history
Also, is that
says,
what you would expect on your first overnight date?
Of course not.
Gosh,
I would
shame on
never.
you.
Goodness. Are you excited for one of the final episodes of the show Black Lightning, a superhero show on the CW? A 2-hour new show of American Pickers, or a plethora of conference tournament college basketball.
American Pickers, is that like guitar pickers?
That's they have guitar pickers, they have gambling pickers, and nose pickers. You can choose which episode you want to watch. It's tremendous.
Incorrect on all those fronts. American Pickers is two guys. They go around the country and they go
buy
to
people's trash
basically,
and sell it.
Yeah, they go to like junkyards and not junkyards, but they find like
they go
barns,
to hoarders' houses,
hoarders,
homes, and then purchase things from hoarders.
Yeah, they're like, this vintage sign is $80.
I'm going to go with, even though the one instrument I do play is my nose, I pick it and blow it. I'm going to go with, I've never seen The Bachelor. I'm sort of interested in the Bachelor overnight date. Yeah.
All right. By the way, vintage is a word that people who own trash use to make it sound not trashy.
Expensive, yeah.
This is vintage. That's trash, lady. Throw it in the garbage.
Vintage is my aesthetic.
Yeah.
Okay.
Listen, I was working all weekend, so I've got a lot of shows to catch up on. I believe Love After Lockup, I believe, is DVR'd, so I'm going to write that in. Love After Lockup. If you want real trash TV, you don't need to go to American Pickers. Love After Lockup. There you go.
48% of the vote says they're watching college basketball. But in second place, the 2-hour American Picker special, with 28% of the vote. The open mic Would You Rather poll. Which board game would you rather play? And I left out Monopoly for a reason. Clue or Sorry?
I don't remember how I played them back when I was a kid, but I don't remember how to play either one of them. I'm gonna go Sorry. I seem to recall I used to like Sorry. I don't know the object of the game anymore, but
does Sorry have the little popping machine in the middle?
Nope, that's
Popple.
I can't remember what that's called.
I think it's Popple.
Might be, but that's not that game. Sorry is the one with the little pieces where you draw a card, you go a certain number of squares, and each card has different stuff. It's
I liked Clue. I liked Clue.
Clue's
I liked
great.
Clue. Yeah, Professor Hammock in the auditorium with a candlestick or something.
Yeah, you really loved the game Clue. That was spot on, man.
Something like that.
60% of the vote says Clue.
There you have it. All right, straight ahead, we're going to ask Julia Poe, our Orlando City insider from the Orlando Sentinel, is it a good thing or a bad thing that Flavio is selling Orlando City? That is next on Open Mic.
Whether you're drinking your morning coffee or sipping on a
So I'm reading from Julia Poe's story in the Orlando Sentinel right now. Orlando City owner Flavio Augusto da Silva has entered discussions for a majority sale of the club to the Wilf family. The family consists of 3 owners who lead the Minnesota Vikings in the NFL. Ziggy Wilf as the majority owner, Mark Wilf, who I believe is the brother, as the president, and Leonard Wilf, who I think might be the other brother, as the chairman. All right, let's go to our hotline. Welcome in Julia Poe. She, of course, is the Orlando City beat writer for the Orlando Sentinel. You can check out all of her coverage of Orlando City, the Orlando Pride, and all things MLS at orlandosentinel.com. You can also find her on Twitter at @byJuliaPoe. That's at @byJuliaPoe. Julia, happy International Women's Day to you.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me on today.
Hey, thanks for being on. One of our text question today is, other than your mother or maybe a significant other, who has been the most influential woman in your life?
Oh, in the last year and a half, it's definitely been our former sports editor, Ileana. She was so impactful for me, the only boss I've had up until this point. And she departed for the LA Times recently. So definitely in the last few years, it's been her. She's been so impactful on me. And you and I both know how much she, just influences and supports us. So definitely her recently. And going to be missing her being around.
Absolutely. We will all miss Ileana, but we can always keep in touch with her. You know that. She'll always take our calls. Even Edgar Thompson's calls she'll take. So, all right, Julia, we asked the question. Now, obviously, it appears Flavio is in negotiations with the Wilf family. And we asked the question, would it be a good thing or a bad thing if Flavio sells Orlando City? It sounds like these guys, the Wilf family, has been wanting to get into MLS. It sounds like they have a bunch of money. So maybe it would be a good thing if they bought Orlando City. Thoughts?
Yeah, it's a conversation that for both sides isn't a surprise. I mean, first, on Flavio's side, he has made it pretty publicly clear that in the next year or two before his 50th birthday, he'd really like to make some sort of ownership change so that he can start focusing his, financial interests on charity work. So this has been something that there's been a lot of reports and rumors over the last few years because he's been open that a sale is most likely coming in the future. And then on the Wilf family side, they were one of the primary bidders for Minnesota United. They did not get that, but they have since been involved in MLS. They have a minority stake in Nashville. So clearly there is a lot of interest in the league there. This is not necessarily a new interest from them. And it'll just be interesting. Clearly they like purple if they're interested in both the Vikings and Orlando City. But this is definitely not a new interest for them at all. They've been, trying to get into the league in bigger ways in the last few years.
I'm curious, Julia. I've contacted Orlando City a couple times over the last few months trying to do a story on Flavio, and he's not been available. Has anybody really heard from him? Where is he? What's he up to? Do we know?
Yeah, I think he's been doing a lot of work behind the scenes, honestly. I mean, the last year has been, no one needs to be told how impactful it has been, especially in the sports industry. And there's been a lot of work to do just behind the scenes in terms of, keeping things together in the last year. When you stop having games and you stop having your primary source of revenue, there's a lot of shifting and a lot of change to be doing there. So I am really interested to see, how that impacts his game plan, because I think a lot of people's just status and stability has changed in the last year. So whether or not that means that he'll stay on at Orlando City longer than he was planning, or if he maybe is looking to execute a sale more quickly than he was planning before, that is really interesting to me, just how the last year has kind of impacted that plan, because his whole idea of his plan at the 50-year mark was made well before the pandemic, before everything changed in the last year. So we'll definitely be interesting to see what that does and how that kind of affects, just the way that he's moving forward with any potential sale.
Julia, unfortunately, I don't have Flavio's bank statements in front of me, so I can see how much he has in his account. But Is he considered, like I just mentioned, the Wilf family or multi-billionaire real estate developer? Is Flavio considered a rich owner or just a rich owner? They're all rich, but do we know? Like what's his financial status compared to some of the other big-time owners, even in MLS?
Yeah, I think it really depends on how you're comparing them because obviously, like you said, there's rich owners and there's rich owners. But sometimes you actually have more assets available if you have a rich owner who you're their only club. And I do think that's one of the interesting things with the Wilf family is that, if you're operating an NFL team and an MLS team at the same time and also an NWSL team, we don't necessarily know if that would be part of the sale. It's interesting to see how owners are willing to, where they're willing to go deep, where they're not. And we have seen that before where there are extremely wealthy owners in MLS who maybe if they're working with multiple teams, they're not going to have the same flexibility as, for instance, a Flavio where this is his team, this is, his sole focus. So I do think that it's a little bit hard to compare apples to oranges there because, you have one owner who maybe is not the same as the Wilf family, but he's all in on Orlando City. And then you'd have a different owner with potentially more assets who's coming in and trying to juggle potentially 3 different teams in 3 different leagues if they also went through with the Pride. So it's kind of hard. I think it's kind of hard to compare. And also part of it is just that you never know how much an owner is going to buy in when they come into anywhere. I don't know how much the Wilf family would potentially plan to do that with any MLS team they'd be interested in, but you never know how much an owner is going to actually buy in and be willing to put into a club. So that kind of transition, I think that's why fans always get so nervous about them because you never know when someone new comes in how much they're willing to invest.
Last one, obviously MLS season right around the corner. What do we expect as far as crowd sizes and things like that, at least early in the MLS season?
I don't think anything is going to change at the start of the season. As sad as fans are, I know I personally can't wait until Exploria Stadium is full again. Was really missing that crowd last year during that crazy run. But I don't think just where things are right now, I have not heard anything about them being able to open up sizes more. And I do think that all of these upcoming national team games are really good barometers for where that crowd size is going to be. And those have not changed. They're still staying at that 20-25% capacity. And if those aren't going up, I just really don't see the MLS crowds being able to go up, at a concurrent time.
Nobody covers Orlando City like Julia Poe. Nobody covers the Orlando Pride like Julia Poe. You can check out all of her coverage at OrlandoSentinel.com. Julia, we always appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a good one.
There you have it, Julia Poe. All right, straight ahead, Mark Daniels and the Bridge. We'll ask Mark Daniels if it's a good thing or a bad thing that